I, Lelouch V. Britannia, command you. Now all of you.
Subscribe now.
Code Geass is one of the most iconic anime to come out of the 2000s. It is commonly mentioned among other equally respected titles such as Death Note and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. But one major difference between Code Geass and those other franchises is that it's still ongoing.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
However, with the next installment in the Code Geass franchise already announced, I thought it best to make a video fully examining the current state of what was once a celebrated franchise in anime, and explain whether its future is something to be excited about or one to be deeply concerned about. But before I continue, please take the time to subscribe. This is the Geass Network, place where we discuss, theorize, and cover all things Code Geass. If you love Code Geass, then this is the place to be. Now, I know there might be some who will probably take issue with me referring to Code Geass as a once celebrated franchise. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a diss on Lelouch of the Rebellion. That series is my favorite anime of all time. However, I'm merely remarking on the perception of the franchise overall. Let's be honest for a second, none of the projects that followed the original anime have come anywhere near to living up to the legacy of Lelouch of the Rebellion. I'm not one of those unrealistic fans that believe every Code Geass project should be either as good as the original or better. Lelouch of the Rebellion is the greatest anime of all time in my opinion. Most anime in general fail to compare, so of course anything Sunrise produces will also fail to measure up. To truly understand what's happening, just take a look at the franchise's most recent entry, Roze of the Recapture. That series was Code Geass' first project to be unanimously panned by fans. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I will talk more on Roze and its devastating impact on both the franchise's future and the Code Geass community later in the video. But first, before we discuss the future of Code Geass, I think it's best we first establish the past of this franchise, and why the original series is still so highly regarded, even 2 decades later. The first thing I want to talk about with regards to Code Geass and its legendary status is Lelouch himself. From the first time the series was recommended to me, all those years ago, the #1 selling point was the anime's main character, Lelouch V. Britannia. From his theatrical and dramatic hand gestures to his incredible character design, Lelouch is one hell of a character, and to me, he is easily the GOAT of all anime protagonists. I could go into an in-depth explanation as to why I believe Lelouch is the best, but if you're watching this video, I'm pretty sure you don't need me to explain to you why Lulu is so great. It goes without saying, all Code Geass fans are well acquainted with Lelouch V. Britannia's greatness. But if you disagree, please write down in the comment section. Tell me who you believe belongs on that Mount Rushmore of anime protagonists. Another thing that helped solidify Code Geass' status as one of the GOATs was Lelouch of the Rebellion's ending. No, seriously, Lelouch of the Rebellion has one of the most satisfying conclusions in all of fiction. This, in particular, is very impressive when you consider that, in this day and age, good endings seem impossible when it comes to genre storytelling. Like with Lelouch being the best protagonist, I could go on the whole day, talking about just how perfect the ending is. But that isn't the focus of this video. I know that Lelouch and the series ending are probably the most obvious elements to praise about the anime, given that's what most Code Geass fans always boast about on Reddit threads. But, truth be told, Lelouch of the Rebellion has many qualities that help make it iconic. From the series' deep and well-thought-out themes that still resonate today, to the fully fleshed world that exists in a history that is alternate to our own, to the dynamic supporting cast who have their own engaging subplots that help drive the narrative forward. Now, for someone who's made it this far into this video, but somehow hasn't watched Lelouch of the Rebellion, they're probably asking themselves, if the first anime series in the franchise was so great, then why would there be any uncertainty regarding its future? Well, that brings me to Sunrise's first attempt at expanding the franchise beyond the original anime, Akito the Exiled. While Akito took place in between the events of Season 1 and 2 of Lelouch of the Rebellion, the OVA series was set in the EU, a location that was never explored in the original anime, and not to mention that the series also gave us a new protagonist in Akito Hyuga, as well as a fresh cast of characters in the Ghosts of Hannibal crew. By the way, I love Akito the Exiled, from the awesome mecha fight scenes, to the vibrant jazz soundtrack, to the villain, Shin, who is underrated in my opinion. And, of course, there's Akito Hyuga. Speaking of being underrated, Akito definitely belongs in that category. I haven't made any videos about Akito, funny enough, despite my love for the series. However, I do plan on remedying that in the future. For those that like the OVA series, tell me in the comments, would you appreciate videos on the Akito the Exiled series? I don't see a lot of content online covering that anime. Despite my love for Akito the Exiled, I feel no conflict whatsoever in admitting that the series was widely met with middling reception, with many fans feeling it was just meh at best. And, unfortunately, the OVA only served to further strengthen the arguments of those that feel that any continuation of Code Geass beyond the original series would only ruin Lelouch of the Rebellion's perfect ending. Then came the recap films. Calling them recap or compilation films doesn't really feel honest, really, especially since their function wasn't just to recap the audience about the events of Lelouch of the Rebellion. Yes, a few years after the conclusion of Akito the Exiled, Sunrise released a set of 3 recap films, whose main objective for existing was to retcon the events of the original series and set up Lelouch's return in time for a new Lelouch movie the studio was planning. I'll talk more on that particular movie later on. These films were not as good as the original series. I'm sure you're starting to notice a pattern in regards to content released post-Lelouch of the Rebellion. But honestly, I don't think Sunrise was all that concerned about quality when they were making these films, but was simply more focused on setting up for the new alternate universe the franchise would now be taking place in going forward. In my opinion, while I do agree that the compilation films weren't good, and actually ruined the story of the original to a certain extent, admittedly though, they did have some entertainment value. It was quite interesting to watch an alternate version of a story that I've watched over and over again for so many years. And I'd also like to add, another thing I appreciate about those recap films is that there is one change to the original continuity I highly approve of. Shirley Finette, one of my favorite characters, actually survives in this new timeline. In 2019, Lelouch of the Resurrection was released in theaters. Lelouch v Britannia was back after his unfortunate demise at the end of the original anime. The film was largely met with a positive reception, making it the first Code Geass project to do so, post-Lelouch of the Rebellion. Yes, the film had its detractors at first, citing its thin plot, fast pacing and over-reliance on fan service and cameos as an issue. However, while the movie was far from being perfect, its large dose of nostalgia was enough to win over most of the pessimistic fans. But the most interesting thing about the Lelouch of the Resurrection film was its post-credit scene. It was a scene of Lelouch together with C2, dressed in quite unique garb, and before them seemed to be what looked like a pile of bodies. At least that's what it looked like to me. Feel free to correct me in the comment section. Anyway, what was most interesting about this scene was how it sort of alluded to more potential stories centered around Lulu and his partner in crime, C2. However, the studio has since pretended like that never happened. I know that there's been ancillary material exploring more stories with Lelouch and C2. However, I think most fans would prefer an anime series instead. Now, let's move on to the dreaded Roze of the recapture series. When it comes to Roze, I don't think it's necessary for me to go over the plethora of problems I had with the anime. I've gone over the issues with Roze of the recapture in several videos before. If you haven't seen any of them, just go through to my channel and you'll see them. But make sure to subscribe before you do. Back to the series at hand, Roze of the recapture. It was an absolute disappointment. I'm sure many fans agree. And, to be honest, it's the main reasons why fans aren't so keen on any further explorations of the Code Geass universe. And that's understandable. If you didn't enjoy Roze, lack of enthusiasm for more Code Geass is to be expected. Whether you like it or not, it's important to remember that Sunrise is hellbent on exploiting the Code Geass franchise any which way they can. I made a reference to this earlier in the video. More Code Geass is imminent. I've mentioned this before in previous videos. In the run-up to the release of the Lelouch of the Resurrection film in 2019, producer Kojiro Taniguchi revealed that the movie was only phase 1 of a 10-year plan of new Code Geass content. It's clear that Sunrise views Code Geass as their next Mobile Suit Gundam wing. They want to produce various spin-offs set within the Code Geass universe, just like the Gundam franchise. Now that we've set the table, having gone through the origins of the franchise, as well as the present. So, I think it's about time we set our sights on the franchise's future. And, as I've established in this very video, Code Geass most definitely has a future. Though, the question of how that particular future will look is the very reason for this video. Now, there's projects we already know are coming, which I'll expand more on in a moment. Then, there's things fans wish would come, projects the fanbase wishes would get made. And then, of course, there are those that would prefer for Code Geass to be left alone, because they feel any further attempts to milk the franchise will only ruin the original anime's ending. This third group, in my opinion, is sadly going to be disappointed, no matter what. While I understand the sentiment, Sunrise is going to continue to milk this franchise for all it's worth, regardless of how you or I may feel. Dwelling on the studio's decision to make more Code Geass projects is fruitless in my opinion. You can either give whatever they produce a chance, or simply stick to only rewatching Lelouch of the Rebellion over and over again. When it comes to future projects, what exactly do we know? Well, we do know of at least one new Code Geass anime that is coming. In December 2025, during the Road to the 20th Anniversary event, the studio announced a new project, Oshi no Asper, which translate to Asper the Star Chaser. The fanbase was surprised. However, it wasn't the announcement of a new anime that caught the fans off guard, but rather, it was the key visuals that were released along with the announcement that piqued everyone's interests. As you can clearly see from the image, this new Code Geass project looks like nothing we've seen so far from the franchise. The studio seems to have decided to go in a different direction as far as the visuals are concerned. This looks to be a complete departure from the clamp art style that had become a signature of the Code Geass franchise up until now. While the change in the art style did inspire some hope about the new project, feeling of skepticism still remain among a significant portion of the fans. While skepticism isn't ideal, it doesn't necessarily spell the end of the franchise either. Now, aside from the key visuals, Sunrise hasn't released anything else regarding this new project. We don't even know the anime's release date. I had assumed that it would come out sometime around the 20th anniversary, but who knows? Now that we've established projects that have been announced, let's look at projects fans would love to see get made. A direct sequel to the original anime has always held tremendous promise. To many within the fanbase, a proper continuation of the Lelouch of the Rebellion feels like the best way to move forward with the Code Geass franchise. To be fair, it's understandable why some might feel this way. If there would be any project that would have the best chance of recapturing the magic of the original, it would have to be an R3 of sorts. Unfortunately, the one thing that has always stood in the way of an actual sequel is the ending of the original anime itself. Just think about this for a moment. The studio literally had to go through the trouble of creating a whole new alternate universe, just so they wouldn't have to ruin the Lelouch of the Rebellion's ending. Which, at the end of the day, I have to say, I appreciate. However, for the time being, a proper third season to Lelouch of the Rebellion remains a fantasy. For those that might want a continuation, please comment down below. Do you perhaps have any story ideas the anime could explore? Another potential sequel that the studio could greenlight is a continuation of the Akito the Exiled series. While Lelouch of the Rebellion is clearly the most celebrated project to come out of the Code Geass franchise, I don't think it would be incorrect to say that Akito is maybe the next most liked series in the franchise. Though it has its haters, I think the majority of the fandom at least prefers it to the Roze of the Recapture series. I personally love the Akito series, and would jump for joy if the studio decided to give us a proper sequel. And unlike with the original anime, Akito Hyuga and the rest of the supporting cast are still alive by the end of the series. This one little fact makes an Akito the Exiled sequel a far more viable option. While Sunrise hasn't made any announcement regarding more Akito, we did, however, see Akito and the rest of the Ghost of Hannibal crew make a brief cameo in Roze of the Recapture series. Perhaps that may be a hint of more stories to come. Until we get any news on a sequel, I'll continue to hope as always. Now we've already talked about the potential sequels for the Lelouch of the Rebellion and Akito the Exiled. And now, how about we look at one last sequel the studio could explore? If we're talking about the future of the franchise, and potential directions it could possibly go in, then why not a continuation of the Roze of the Recapture series? I know that many would probably groan at the prospect of revisiting those characters again.
Oh, come on.
However, as I've stated in my previous videos, the main problem with Roze was the writing. Otherwise, I thought some of the concepts introduced in the series could have worked out if handled by better writers. I would be open to more stories with Sakuya/Roze, given we get a better creative team behind said stories. The series, in my opinion, had tremendous potential, and even had its moments in the first few episodes. But, like with any potential future projects, whether that be a Lelouch of the Rebellion Season 3, an Akito or Roze sequel, or even the newly announced Asper the Star Chaser anime, the project will live or die by the quality of the writing. If I had to be honest about how I feel about the future of Code Geass after having gone through all that, I do feel some level of uncertainty. However, I'm not one of those that have become overly pessimistic about the franchise's prospects. Don't get me wrong, everyone is entitled to feel how they want to feel, and not wanting to give any future projects a chance because of Roze is totally valid. The fact remains, there is a lot riding on Asper the Star Chaser. This anime has to deliver in order to get people optimistic about Code Geass again. I'm not saying it has to reach the glorious heights of the original series, but it has to be a crowd pleaser. Looking at all the potential directions the studio could take the franchise in, there is definitely a chance for both success and failure. Only time will tell how well Sunrise navigates the waters of fan expectations. I've gone over what Sunrise could do with Code Geass, but I haven't gone into what I'd do if I were the one making all the decisions. Please indulge me for a moment. At the end of the day, I'm a Code Geass fanboy just like any of you. And I'm sure it won't surprise you that I've spent countless of hours daydreaming about where I would take the franchise creatively. I personally would go in the direction of a Lelouch of the Rebellion sequel, but I would set it hundreds of years into the future. Imagine a cyberpunk Code Geass story in the vein of Edge Runners or Akira. After the events of Lelouch of the Resurrection, both Lelouch and C2 are immortal characters now. This gives you the freedom to tell stories centered around them in any timeline you wish. Another thing I'd do would be to set the story in an interstellar setting, similar to Star Wars or Dune. It's quite clear that Sunrise wants to make Code Geass into another Mobile Suit Gundam Wing, which is also another Sunrise-owned mecha space franchise. And taking Code Geass to space would give this franchise the fresh breath of air it so desperately needs. Now, there are some signs that Sunrise might actually implement some of these ideas. Firstly, the new anime is called Asper the Star Chaser. The word star does give the impression that perhaps the story could be set in space. Maybe it's wishful thinking on my part, but it doesn't hurt to have a little hope. Secondly, at the same event where Asper was announced, a crossover manga series with Code Geass and Gundam was also announced. A crossover with Gundam means the franchise is going to space, at least in the manga. However, announcing this along with Asper the Star Chaser is just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. And, thirdly, if Asper's story is set in space, the obvious conclusion would be that there's a large time jump between Roze and Asper. Up until this far into the franchise, the stories were set firmly on planet Earth. A time jump would be the only way to explain the sudden interstellar setting. I may be wrong, but we'll find out sooner or later. However, I'm curious, how do you feel about the future of Code Geass? Do you think it is doomed, or do you still have hope that the studio can turn things around again? And what do you think about my ideas for the franchise? Do you have a different take on which direction the franchise should go in? Comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, bye.
I, Lelouch v. Britannia, command you. Now all of you.
Subscribe now.